Welcome to week 6. Only 2 more weeks after this one till we're all finished up here, and hopefully you have learned a lot about technology and its influences on education and ways that we can be innovators in that realm. And you can't be an innovator with technology if you don't understand some of the basic principles that go along with inclusion of technology into your classroom. And so really we're going to look at those practices this week. Now, if you're going on your own field trip or you're decided you're going to watch a classroom or you have watched a classroom because you're thinking ahead of what you need to do before school let out, good for you. I have included on this week's assignment under week 6 some video summations of influential educational environments. Let's just put it that way. Some of them include lots of technology. Some of them include little technologies in special ways. Each one of them are a little bit different, but kind of focusing down the same path. So take a look at those. And actually, I'm going to take a look at those with you as we go through this week. Let's start off with our week in discussion about what's happening. And that should lead us into those video pieces in this week's assignment. Okay, so if we're looking at week 6, we're still looking at emerging technologies, trying to hopefully get some more information on, the functions of technology and the ways those are actually used within a classroom, and how they are used, and maybe develop some of our own philosophy on what's appropriate and how it can be used in the classroom. If you're watching some of the videos that I have posted on there, you'll see some really dynamic learning environments that have been created in multiple countries and in ours. And so there's some neat things to take a look at within that. If you had an opportunity today to go see Most Likely to Succeed in Compton, great. That I think you'll be enriched by that opportunity, and the ability to kind of write on that will be very helpful. What I'd like to do with this week's summations based on the videos and environments that we've all shared is, after we've posted those pieces, I would like to put those in my Google folder, and then I'll share our folder out so that other people can see people's reviews of technologies and how they were included. Again, like I've probably said a couple times already in the class, one of the most valuable pieces of our learning is that the sharing of what we know and how you know it. More and more that I've went to school to learn more different things, the more I learned that you know less and less about everything and more about one thing. And so it's always good to find that person who has a aspect or a different learning piece at a really depth of knowledge in an area that can include some pieces into what you want to know more about. And so that's kind of an exciting piece. And I like to be able to share those with one another so people can kind of pick out those pieces of knowledge, and it may spur someone as their capstone class or something they want to write about. This week's discussion, we have one leader this week, Xenia, and you are leading the discussion. So tomorrow you have to post by 6 o'clock. Hopefully you'll have that done ready so that we can all respond to that. Remember, we want one scholarly post to the original claim so that we can actually say that we looked at some of the content knowledge through the week in our Evernote portal or some other place that you can bring that back in and have a citation in APA formatting so that we can earn full points on our discussions. That's one of the things we're going to look for. Looking through our field trip to a technology site, there's our advantages, just to kind of keep your heads up that we have Martin, you're coming up next week, and then our wrapping up with Terry on that. Let me get out of here. So under the week trip field trip piece, under week 6, submissions are due to the discussion board, create a thread, post your reflections. Anything that you write and talk about or you share with me, I want to be able to put those in one document. Like I said, then I'll share those out. So whether they're posted or not, we're going to have those shared out so that people can kind of see what has happened and what takeaways they've had from that piece. Because I think that's the power of the visitation, is to see what's going on. And if you watch the Finland phenomenon, you'll really get the idea of when they have, first year teachers, every teacher has a master's to teach in Finland. And so if you're working through your undergraduate or your teaching credential essentially pattern, instead of going through traditional BITSA, you actually produce and teach a lesson, and then you're reviewed by 7, 8, 9 other teachers who are there, student teachers and regular teachers, and they give you feedback. And the feedback there is not to be critical of the feedback. The feedback is to support you in how you can become better in your practice, which is sometimes really hard to grasp, that I can become better in my practice the more people get a chance to watch me do what I do and then reflect on what happens. In an administrative role for a number of years, I actually have told people that I hadn't been evaluated for like 10 years. And I went to the virtual school where I'm working at this year, and we got evaluated, and we did very well. But it's nice to see that reflection on what we need to work on, because it helps the person to grow and develop when you actually have that opportunity. And so many people think that evaluation has a negative connotation attached to it, and really it should be an evaluation based on growth. But you'll see that in the Finland phenomenon. There's 4 videos there. If you didn't see the presentation on Most Likely to Succeed, here's 2 in-depth looks at the movie that was put out, and they go into some reviews, and so you have to be attentive to the conversations about the inclusion of technologies, how and why those classroom environments are working, what they're doing to develop and become more sophisticated for students to learn in different models and get away from some rote pieces. And then the bottom one, I guess, would be the starting off with what the future of education might look like. And so we started out this course looking at the future of education, when we reviewed the handbook on what progressive trends are going to come out in the next 5, 10, and 15 years. Here they kind of put it into a video summation, so you get a chance to look at some of the technology pieces that could be in a classroom. And not to put technology for technology's sake in a classroom, the future of learning, a mini documentary, you kind of look and understand just the methodology of why technology may be important, and how we put it in is important as much as the technology that we put into the classroom. And so it's not just, if you're familiar with the SAMAR model, it's not just a supplemental infusion of technology to replace what was typically happening in a classroom, but really redefining the educational space. And then you get to kind of look at some education innovation in a whole. Now, Ken Robinson will talk a lot about technologies, but his underlying themes and understandings within the conversation here is that technology can help support by making spaces that are more interactive for our students as they go through their typical course. And so those are some presentation pieces that if you don't get a chance to go out and see a video, or if you don't get a chance to go out and visit a classroom, here are those pieces that you can actually see and get a good understanding of what's going on. So here are the videos. The videos are attached to our course. So if you're looking under week 6 and you click here, you're going to get the instructions. Here's the instructions for the videos. The links are linked in here also, so they're quickly embedded, easy for you to get through and understand what's going on. So kind of take a look at that. So hopefully that kind of explains on what's going on. As we start and think about week 7 and our future moving forward in the class, I want to remind you all that we have some capstone projects that are going to be due. So make sure you're looking at week 7 and week 8 to make sure you have an understanding of what's to come. The week 8 assignment is our final assignment, which we'll do on that Friday. And then you'll have a small summer break before your next course, most likely. But kind of be familiar with what that is and who's coming up. So if you have any discussion pieces that you want to make little notes on, prepared for the discussion, that's a good opportunity to have those kind of ready as we move into the last weeks. So I would suggest in week 6, with the review of some innovative technologies, to kind of look ahead and see what's there, so you're prepared to make sure that everything is going to be complete in the timely manner that's expected. I usually don't mark down for 1 or 2 days late. It's just difficult on the last assignment because the grades for you guys are due on that Saturday by the end of the day, and so that's usually when submission is done. So if I don't get it by Friday night and I start grading on Saturday, and then it gets marked down if those pieces aren't included in there. And so make sure you take a look at that. If anyone didn't have a link on their last assignment, like I said, I don't usually mark down for people making a mistake on a link. If it's in there, we go back and I regrade them. It's not an issue. Those are not a big thing for me. I really like to see your work and be able to evaluate the work based on what you've completed, not necessarily on the timeline that it was completed, as long as you're not, turning it in 6 weeks after the course is done. So there's a loose tight with that. There's a loose within the course structure, but there's a tight within the end of the course timeline, and what the university sets up. So hopefully you'll have a good week 6. I'm excited to read what you have to say about the innovative environments that I've posted or that you've got an opportunity to visit. Hopefully this will be a great week for you of kind of really looking at technology in a different way, and the way that it can really impact instruction and impact learning for students. Have a great week 6.